Hey friends, Shea here. And if you know me, you know I'm obsessed with my perfect dog, the baby angel Ruff. Well, Ruff came into our lives through an amazing organization called PACK. That's P-A-C-K, People, Animals, Compassion, and Kindness. They do amazing work in the community here in the greater Tacoma area, providing financial assistance to help the pets of low-income families and the unhoused.
They're also a deeply involved dog rescue, working as a foster-based refuge for dogs in need of all ages and levels of medical needs. And now you get a chance to support the group that gave us Ruff, his forever home. I'm so blessed to be Ruff's auntie.
Yes, you are.
PACK, P-A-C-K, is throwing an awesome fundraiser event on June 6th, and you're invited.
It's the third annual Party with a Purpose, and it's your chance to have a great time and help pets in need. There'll be silent auctions, raffles, great food, and all the fuzzy feels.
The event is happening on June 6th, 2025 at the beautiful waterfront venue at Narrows Marina, located at 9007 South 19th Street, Tacoma.
Whether you're a dog person, a cat person, or just a good human, this event is the perfect way to show some love and make a real impact.
So grab your calendar, go to PACK Gives, that's PACKGIVES.org, or check out the link in our show notes and get your tickets. That's June 6th. Come be part of the PACK.
And Ruff says thank you.
And Ruff is so cute, so you have to go.
He's so cute.
So cute. Bye. Bye.
Welcome to Rainy Day Rabbit Holes, where we take the history of the West off the rails.
If you like your history unhinged, you are in the right place.
I'm Shea.
And I'm Jody.
Let's fall down the rabbit hole. All right, Jody, I'm going to set the scene.
Set it.
Dusk is creeping across the lonely Arizona territory, where the desert sky stretches out forever and time seems to stop in the heat. A tumbleweed bounces across the hard, red sandy stretch between a purple mountain and a small cluster of ramshackle wooden homes. A few dusty men on horseback are hurrying to herd their sheep into a pen for the night, and a young, lean woman in a homespun dress calls her children in from where they are playing in the dirt. Night is coming, and with it the terror of something that chilled the blood of even the bravest pioneers. It was no ordinary ghost. Massive, silent, and covered in shaggy red hair, it would appear and vanish like a heat stroke nightmare. Some people said it was 30 feet tall. Others, that they saw it kill and eat a grizzly bear. One man said he saw it striding through the thin air high above the desert sand, and then it simply disappeared right before his eyes. It would leave behind enormous hoofed footprints in the sand, prints unlike anything that belonged in the American West. But that's not the worst part. They say something rode atop it.
What?
Not someone.
Something.
Tell me it was Bigfoot. Could be. This, Jody, is the legend of the Red Ghost of Arizona.
Dun, dun, dun.
Now, before we get into this terror, too deep into it.
Right, I'm already in terror.
Yes. I have a confession to make to our dear listeners.
Friends. You don't believe in ghosts?
Well, no, we already know that. I don't know. After the Shanghai tunnels.
Yeah, I think we got to start calling them disappeared tunnels.
Yeah.
It's less racist.
That is, but very time.
Yes.
Like very.
Yes, I think we can change
People
the
are
term
being
now. It's
disappeared
appropriate.
right now, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, friends, here's my confession. I'm very sorry to say. I am not a true Pacific Northwesterner.
I know, I forget that sometimes.
That's right.
Because you are so authentic. Like, I
fake like the best because I'm an imposter. My home state is Arizona. That's right. I'm a dirty, sunburnt, dry-skinned, cactus-loving fraud.
Where were you born? What county? Was it Yavapai?
Am I confused? Is it Arizona or New Mexico?
No, Yavapai is Arizona.
Okay. I'm not giving my hometown because you could use that for authenticating my ID.
I wanted it was a county.
Well, Pima.
I need voter ID and I need...
It's either Pima or Cochise, because honestly, right now I don't remember. I lived in both. But no, I'm not giving you my hometown because...
What was the address? What hospital were you born in?
What's my mother's maiden name?
I have your birth date. Social security number.
You do? Oh my God, she's going to steal my identity.
Mm-hmm.
She's going to pretend to be Republican. She's going to vote.
Oh my God.
She's going to register me
I'm
as a
ruin
Republican.
your reputation. This could be fun.
So, but don't worry, my friends. I moved up here, learned about lotion and sunscreen, and got rained on enough time to earn honorary status.
She's so Northwest, I forget she wasn't born here.
I know. It's because I'm not dried up and Republican.
She feels more Northwest than I feel.
Sometimes, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
I wasn't born here either. Well, I guess Montana is Northwest. Never mind.
I might have moss growing on me.
On your back.
Exactly. Like I sat in a hot tub too long.
Yeah.
So if you've listened to this podcast before, you will know that I'm a huge Debbie Downer and our resident skeptic.
Shea ruins everything.
I do. It's my specialty. But today, I have a ghost story for you that is absolutely true.
Oh.
And made a believer even out of me.
No.
Yep.
I don't even believe that.
Well, let's get into it.
I want to hear.
Okay. Let's head back to the desert. So picture Arizona in the late 1800s. We are talking long stretches of scorched earth, canyons that promised water but ended up offering only death, and rough, dusty towns shimmered like mirages in the heat. It was a tough place, and you had to be one tough SOB to survive. Mm-hmm. Cowboys, miners, and settlers eked out a life under the blistering sun, constantly on edge from bandits, wild animals, and something else.
Oh my.
Something unnatural.
See, every time I watch movies or read anything about this time, I already think it sounds horrible. Like
it's bad. Everybody smelled bad. Everybody's
all
thirsty.
Of those things that you listed. Yes, thirsty. I instantly am parched just watching a movie. And all those things you listed are like things that go through my mind every time I'm seeing Arizona from the 1800s. And then you add this 30,
right.
What did you say? 30-foot ghost?
Right. That killed and ate a grizzly bear.
Yeah. Like, what does it need to eat for? It's
no
dead.
wonder everybody wanted to just get drunk and have sex.
Right. There's
they wanted
horrible
to forget. Jeez. Okay.
Reality was
totally
unbearable.
Our tale begins on a quiet morning in 1883.
Your favorite era.
I do love the 1880s.
Actually, it's mine too. I literally search.
It's always the 1880s.
Television shows and movies from that era because
yes,
that's my era.
It's the best. Somewhere near Eagle Creek, which lies on the edge of the Apache National Forest in southeast Arizona, near the current New Mexico border. The men were out working on the range, as they often were, leaving the women behind at the homestead. It was early morning, and the women were starting their day of household chores, dawn still just a rumor peeking over the mountain. One of the women, let's call her Kate, because there are no names in this story.
Kate's perfect. There's a lot of Kates back then.
Yes, exactly. She left her children in the care of the other woman, who let's just call her Mary.
Yeah.
And those are the only two names.
Yeah.
And headed out to the spring to fetch water. Then, the early morning silence was shattered. The dogs began barking, a frantic, terrified kind of barking. Mary opened the door to investigate, only to freeze in horror. Her screams followed moments later, echoing across the plain. By the time the others arrived, it was too late. Kate lay trampled to death outside, her body mangled and lifeless, the ground around her torn by something powerful.
That escalated quickly.
It did. Whatever had attacked her had left behind monstrous hoof prints, far larger than those of any horse or cow, and long tangled strands of coarse red hair. Mary, or as I wrote here, Merar, because I type faster, very fast, was incoherent, shaking, and pale. All she could say was that she'd seen a massive beast silhouetted in the red light of the rising sun, tall as a house, with something horrible on its back. Word of the mysterious red ghost spread quickly, especially after a group of miners. I always feel like I have to clarify.
Right.
It's not people that are underage, it's people that are prospecting for gold.
Right.
A group of miners camped nearby reported being attacked in the dead of night. Something crashed into their tent, ripping it open and throwing men and equipment alike. They swore it was an enormous red-haired creature, wild-eyed and barely of this earth. They fled. And honestly, same.
Yeah, right?
Again, why I don't camp in Arizona.
Yeah,
They were camping. Tent? Camp? No, I'm not tent camping. If I'm camping in Arizona, I've got to be in an RV.
right. A, the weather. B, the creatures. And now you're adding a giant ghost.
Yes. And then came the cowboy with the lasso. He tried to capture the beast, but when his rope landed on its neck, the creature screamed, reared, and charged him. The man and his mount barely escaped with their lives, but he saw something that haunted him forever. There was a man, a human corpse, tied to the creature's back, strapped in with leather thongs so tight that they started to fuse with the rotting flesh. Clothes in tatters.
It's like a trophy?
Skin gray and shriveled. A walking nightmare.
How big? Like an actual human?
It was a human.
Oh.
A human corpse. Soon after, another group of men tried to take it down. Guns drawn, they fired, but missed the beast. Instead, they struck the decaying rider, blasting the skull right off its shoulder.
I'm picturing parts and goo.
Well, it's dry.
It's a ghost.
Well, also it's Arizona. It's dry. There's no goo.
Dang.
It's not like Elmer McCurdy that had goo inside of him. Remember?
Yeah.
When they cut open the back of his neck and goo came out?
Yes. I expected at least like
I think it's
congealed
just
blood.
Dust. No, just dust. No, they found the skull that had tatters of flesh and hair
Oh.
attached
Dried
to it.
up, I'm
It was a
assuming.
human
Yeah.
skull. Yes, everything's dry. It's Arizona.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to listen. No
Okay.
more questions.
Yes, the body remains lashed to the monster, slumping but still there.
Oh, so now we have a headless horseman.
Mhm,
Or
we do.
a headless monsterman.
Exactly, a headless monsterman. Yes,
Mhm.
It was not a horse. It seemed unstoppable. Was it a ghost? A demon? A punishment sent by the native gods for invading their land? I like that last option. You know how I feel about
Yes.
colonialism. Because I'm woke.
I'm woke. Actually, I did a lot of research. So we had to, in nursing school, pick a culture.
Yes, you have mentioned this.
Yeah, and I chose that. And so and I chose it for every class because I already learned it once. So why not
Exactly.
stick it every time?
Become an expert.
And so I kept redoing this. And I also am wishing that's my spirit. Definitely my spirit.
Yeah. For nearly a decade, the red ghost terrorized Arizona. It appeared at random, silent, swift, and surreal. It left terror and destruction in its wake. And then, just as suddenly as it began, it ended. One morning, a humble turnip farmer looked out and saw something enormous eating from his field. He grabbed his rifle, aimed, and fired. The creature fell. And when he approached, the mystery of the red ghost was finally revealed.
What? This is why you're a believer.
It was
Links, that's so timely of you. I love it.
It was a camel.
So there was nobody on his back. That was his hump.
No, there was somebody on his back. But yes, Jody, the terrifying red ghost of Arizona, a literal camel.
What?
And that mummified man strapped to its body
A rider?
apparently left there for over 10 years. It had been wandering in the desert, hauling around a corpse long after whoever tied him there kicked the old canteen. This is a true story.
This is not a ghost at all. What was a camel doing in Arizona?
Right? Now, and that's my next line. Now, why, you ask, was a camel roaming wild in Arizona in the 1800s?
Yes.
Well, buckle up, partner, and Lynx. That's my cat. Because we're about to ride straight into one of the strangest moments in American military history. How camels came to be wandering the deserts of the American West is a story nearly as strange as fiction. But first, much like a tumbleweed blown off course, we're going to roll right into an ad break. And don't worry, we'll be back quicker than you can say spitting camel. It's dumb. That was real bad.
No, that was good.
And we're back. If you're enjoying our ridiculous ride through dusty legends and ghostly camels, consider helping us keep the wagon rolling. You can support the show by becoming a patron for ad-free episodes, bonus content, and behind-the-scenes silliness, like our tarot reading that we did with the ladies from P&W Haunts and Homicides.
Actually, I mean, if you were to subscribe, that episode has some special moments in it that I was gonna leave it out there as enticing.
I'm sorry. It's still enticing to hear me cry. You've heard me laugh. You need to hear me cry. Or you can also become
the non-believer was very emotional. Tarot card reading.
I was. I keep that kitten tarot in my purse right now just so I can whip it out.
Good for you, non-believer. Believe.
Still don't believe. But I believe in psychology.
Clearly you don't believe.
Or you can become a Spreaker supporter and toss a few gold coins in our podcast hat. So just head to rainydayrabbitholes.com/support to check out all the ways you can help us keep chasing ghosts, cults, and camel conspiracies. Okay, so now where were we? Oh, right.
We had just shot and identified a camel that everyone thought was a ghost.
Yeah, you are not ready for this desert drama.
I'm headed there on Friday, and I just feel like you need to prepare me.
Well, I'm going to prepare you. If history had gone a lot different, the West would be very different. Different. Mm-hmm. If we didn't have the Civil War, things would be interesting.
Please tell me, because I've always wondered. It always felt like
the
West was like off in their own land, while the other side of the country was fighting this very painful war amongst ourselves.
The East Coast seemed still very tied to Britain, where the West Coast was completely its own thing, right?
Yeah. Long forgotten Britain.
And still there's so much like British influence on the East Coast, whereas the West Coast is just its own wacky doodle thing. Mm-hmm. All right, so welcome to the U.S. Army Camel Corps.
Whoa, they even made a thing.
That's right, an opportunity to complain about the way corpse is pronounced.
I know, I was just going to say again.
Okay, so it's the Camel Corps.
I feel like you just look up Corpse Corps. Stories with Corpse, so that you can keep complaining about this.
It's spelled C-O-R-P-S. That spells corpse. Thank you very much. I'm going to die on this hill. All right, so it's the U.S. Army Camel Corps. That's fine. I'll capitulate.
For you fans.
For you guys. So in the mid-1800s, the U.S. Army was trying to figure out how to better traverse the arid, brutal terrain of the Southwest. Horses? They tired out too easily. Mules? Meh. So a young U.S. Army officer, one Jefferson Davis, who history buffs might recognize as the president of the Confederate States of America from 1861 to 1865, got a bright idea from a fellow officer. What about camels? Camels could carry 600 pounds, go days without water, and had feet made for sandy ground.
Yeah.
Now, I am going to link in our show notes the recent Zafrank, my very favorite YouTuber. He did a thing about camels, which I felt was serendipitous. So you can learn all about camels, how they can go so long without water, and all their weird stands that they have on their bodies so they can lay on sand. They have like this thing on their chest.
Yeah.
That's like
I've seen it, like a big stick out thing.
Yeah, and their knees
thoracic
too, so that they can sit
cavity is
on the
huge.
sand. It's crazy. Camels are cool. Not to mention they spit, kicked, and screamed like unhinged monsters when annoyed, which frankly made them the perfect military mascots. Jefferson Davis was all in on the idea. He believed camels could be the future of desert transportation. It took about 20 years for the idea to be put in motion. And at this point, Davis had clawed his way up the ranks to Senator of Mississippi and eventually to Secretary of War. Major Henry C. Wayne, another 1800s dude, conducted a study in 1848 and recommended the importation of camels to the War Department. So in 1855, with the backing of Jefferson Davis, the Secretary of War, Congress approved $30,000, equivalent to $1 million ish, equivalent to about $1 million in 2024.
Chump change.
To import camels from the Middle East. It is chump change. Think about it.
Uh-huh.
To import camels from the Middle East and North Africa. The experiment kicked off in 1856 when Major Wayne departed New York City and traveled to the Mediterranean Sea.
So this is after the Civil War or before?
Before.
Oh, so did they put the camels on with the slaves they were sending over?
Oh, geez. I never even thought about that. I would assume that there was maybe slave labor on the, I don't know.
Very efficient to send them both at the same time.
So stops included Tunisia, Malta, Greece, Turkey, and Egypt. Now, none of my sources could agree on the number of camels. We have numbers ranging from 33 camels to 77 camels and different numbers all in between. But there's a reason for all these different numbers, and I'll get to it. The number reported by the Army Historical Foundation is 33, so we're going to go with that because I feel like they would be the most accurate resource for this story, given that it is Army history. There were 19 females and 14 males. They were a mix of Bactrian, or two-humped camels, and dromedaries, or one-humped camels. The Bactrian were known for, and I'm probably saying that wrong, the Bactrian were known for their strength and burden-carrying abilities, and the Arabian dromedaries were renowned for their swiftness. The cost averaged around $250 per camel, though they were gifted some of these camels.
They were like buy 12 slaves and get a free camel. Why is that funny? That is not funny.
That's terrible.
We have terrible. You know what? Here, I'm a nurse. We laugh at terrible things. That's how we survive. That's why I have this bad humor.
Teamer?
Humor.
Oh, it sounded like you said teamer, and I was like, is that humor you bought from Temu?
Tell me when you re-listen. I've had 1 3/4 beer,
right?
I could have said that.
A shipment of camels, along with saddles and other attack, arrived in Texas aboard the USS Supply. I love the name of that ship.
Supplies.
It's just a ship for supplies, the USS Supply. After a slow and treacherous journey of 3 months at sea. During the trip, 1 male camel died, but 6 calves were born, and 2 of those survived the trip. So altogether, they landed with 34 camels who were in better condition when they landed than when they left, surprisingly.
So they were trying to send us like camels that were on the edge of death.
Maybe.
But then we had people on the ship that brought them back.
Well, right, because alongside them came several camel handlers, including a man known as Haj Ali, an experienced camel driver from the Ottoman Empire. But American soldiers couldn't pronounce Haj Ali. So naturally, they called him Hi Jolly.
I love America.
Hi Jolly was a legend. He was born as Philip Tadro in Samaria around 1828 to a Greek mother and Syrian Christian Arab father. He converted to Islam as a teenager and took up the name Haji Ali. So it's been there's several different names in this story. So it's Haj Ali or Haji Ali. He worked as a camel breeder and trainer, briefly serving with the French army in Algiers before signing on to be the camel handler for the U.S. Army in 1856. He was the lead camel driver and one of 8 men of Greek descent, interestingly enough, hired by the army to help out with the cannibals.
Canimals?
The cannibals. Those were camels that ate other cannibals. I've had 3 beers.
I've had 1 3/4. That's why I'm laughing so hard.
So he traveled with the camel corps across Texas, California, Arizona, teaching soldiers how to handle the surly, screaming beasts. Now, the herd was marched to Camp Verde, Texas, where Major Wayne constructed a camel corral and set up the Camel Corps headquarters.
Nice. A camel corps.
Camel Corps. Then the plan was put to the test. Wayne wanted to see how well the camels would perform. He sent 3 wagons, each with a 6-mule team, and then 6 camels to San Antonio for a supply of oats. The mule-drawn wagons, each carrying 1,800 pounds of oats, took almost 5 days to return to Camp Verde. The 6 camels carried 3,648 pounds of oats and made the trip in 2 days.
Wow.
So basically, broken down simply, each mule carried 300 pounds of oats and each camel carried 608 pounds of oats. Or that's how I've interpreted this story, but you know how I am with math. I could be very
I can't wait to
wrong.
hear the end of the story because I'm thinking, this is brilliant.
And they did it more than twice as fast.
Yeah. Like, why don't we have a whole country full of
Right?
camels at this point?
Right. Davis was much pleased with the results and stated in his annual report in 1857, these tests fully realized the anticipation entertained of their usefulness in the transportation of military supplies. Thus far, the result is favorable as the most sanguine could have hoped.
What's a sanguine? Because sanguination or
blood, I don't know.
Right, exactly. You're bleeding out. Like what's...
I thought about this when I was writing that. I was like, we're going to have a discussion about what the hell is the word sanguine. Would you like to look that up?
Yeah, I'll do that.
With your phone. Filled with blood. Look at that cat. He's so handsome. Look at his shiny coat.
Sanguine can refer to a few things, but its most common meaning is related to blood.
Oh, thanks.
It can also refer to a positive or optimistic outlook.
Okay.
There you go.
As favorable as the most positive person could have hoped. Okay, great. The camels performed beautifully. They could cross terrain that left horses wheezing in the dust, and they ate anything. They didn't care about cliffs or heat. They were tanks with humps. So Davis sent Lieutenant David Dixon Porter back to Egypt to get more camels. Mm-hmm. And on January 30th, 1857, he arrived with an additional 41 camels. By this time, 5 of the original herd had died from disease, so the number now totaled 70. So this is why there's all these discrepancies, 33, 77. So I think some stories just total up all the camels in the story, and some are like, here's what we started with. And then, yeah. So in 1857, a contract to survey and build a wagon road along the 35th parallel from Fort Defiance in New Mexico to the Colorado River on the California-Arizona border was authorized by Congress and awarded to a Mr. Edward Fitzgerald Beale. Unfortunately for Beale, he didn't learn until after he accepted the contract that the Secretary of War had placed some special conditions on the contract.
Ruh-roh.
Beale had to use the camels. He was not happy. But on June 25th, 1857, he set out with 25 camels, 42 soldiers, and assorted wagons, dogs, horses, and mules. At first, Beale was proven correct in his misgivings. The camels were slower than the horses and mules and would arrive in camp hours behind the rest of the party. But this was because after the initial testing, the camels had been doing nothing at Camp Verde. They'd just been sitting around.
Oh, they're getting fat and lazy.
Yeah. But as they became more conditioned, they became settled to their task and began outdistancing the rest of the expedition. Each camel carrying a 700-pound load and able to traverse terrain that the mules and horses just refused to walk over.
I'd imagine.
By the time they reached Fort Defiance, he had changed his tune about the camels. He actually ended up liking them. They were patient, enduring, and docile for the most part. They didn't eat much of the forage that they needed for the mules and horses, but instead would eat scrub and cactus.
Wow.
So
Perfect.
If you watch this Frank thing, they talk about the camel's mouth. The camel's mouth is a thing of horror if you look inside of it. There's these weird spiky things. Their lips are made of like tough leather because they have evolved to eat cactus.
Oh, see, why is this whole place not full of camels? Keep going. 'Cause
Right.
I got to know.
Yeah. I've changed your mind about camels like I did about beavers. And now Jody loves beaver.
Yeah, I do.
And
from far away though. Like I don't want them in my yard.
if you listen to our if you become a patron and listen to our bonus episode, we're going to all get together and pull each other's beaver hair.
I cannot wait.
I did not remember most of that conversation, so editing it was quite an eye-opener. I was like, what did we talk about? I think I was drunk.
Usually. That's why we're ridiculous.
Okay. The other great thing about the camels is they can go 8 to 10 days without water.
Yeah.
You can't do that with a horse or
That's
a mule.
what I was thinking across that desert. Like, why? Keep going because I got to know.
They even helped save the lives of the entire expedition. At one point, the expedition became lost and was mistakenly led into an impassable canyon. The ensuing lack of grass and water for over 36 hours made the mules frantic. A small scouting party mounted on camels was sent out to find a trail. They found a river some 20 miles distant and led the expedition to it, literally saving the lives of both men and beasts.
Again, why aren't we full of camels?
From then on, the camels were used to find all watering holes.
Yeah.
The expedition reached the Colorado River on October 17th, the last obstacle in their journey. While preparing to cross the river, Beale wrote, "An important part of all our operations has been acted by the camels. Without the aid of this noble and useful brute," rude, that was me, not him, "many hardships which we would have been spared would have fallen to our lot, and our admiration for them has increased day by day. As some new hardship, endured patiently, more fully developed their entire adaptation and usefulness in the exploration of the wilderness. At times, I have thought it impossible they could stand the test to which they have been put, but they seem to have risen equal to every trial and to have come off every exploration with as much strength as before starting. I have subjected them to trials which no other animal could possibly have endured. And yet I have arrived here not only with the loss of a camel, but they are admitted by those who saw them in Texas to be in as good as a condition as when we left San Antonio.
Wow.
I believe at this time I may speak for every man in our party when I say there is not one of them who would not prefer the most indifferent of our camels to 4 of our best mules."
Wow.
So we'll take the asshole camel over 4 mules.
Yeah, 100%. That's true. They are kind of
The camels, all still fully loaded, swam across the Colorado River with no problem, while 2 horses and 10 mules died in the crossing.
Wow.
Beale now loved the camels.
Mm-hmm.
When he was ordered to bring the camels back to Camp Verde, he made up an excuse about how the camels could be useful in carrying supplies for the troops if California became involved in the quote-unquote Mormon War, which now I need to investigate the Mormon War.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
I didn't go down that rabbit hole. I just stopped. But
it feels like a good one. I've seen a lot of things about it, actually.
But ended up moving them to the ranch of his business partner, Samuel Bishop, for use in personal freight hauling.
Personal freight hauling? Wait, what are we talking about? Like just carrying your stuff, I guess.
Just carrying stuff, yeah, for money.
I don't know why I was thinking
but
slaves
these are,
again.
Well, the camels are slaves.
Yeah, that's true.
In 1858, he was given another 25 camels to survey another route, and over the next year, the camels performed just as well. The experiment was a success. Camels were so much more useful than mules or horses in the harsh desert environment. The new Secretary of War, John B. Floyd, recommended to Congress that they should purchase another 1,000 camels. Unfortunately,
1,000.
That's a lot.
Significantly more than they
70.
Did.
Yeah. Unfortunately, Congress wasn't convinced. The first stirrings of the Civil War had Congress's attention, right? And they refused to approve any more funds for the project. But another reason for Congress's refusal was the mule lobby.
Oh, geez, Louise.
The mule lobby lobbied hard in Washington against
That's why we
the
need
camel
DEI. Like,
experience.
you need the most qualified, and that was
the mule
the
lobby.
camel.
The mule lobby.
Jesus.
There's probably a Jesus lobby. Actually,
Sorry.
there is. Oklahoma
shouldn't
and
have said
Arkansas.
Jesus.
In 1859, the Army took charge of the 28 camels at Bishop's Ranch and moved them to Fort Tejon. Tejon? Tejon. Thank you.
I don't know. I made
Like
that up.
cojones? I don't know either. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing it. That's the original 25 and the 3 calves that had been born. So they were actually breeding in captivity. So some of them were relocated to grazing area and some were sent to California to take part in a test to see if they could be used as an express mail service. So the camels were tested.
MAIL or
Yes.
MALE?
MAIL. So like letters.
Oh, so less
Stuff.
intriguing. Go ahead.
The camels were tested against a 2-mule buckboard for a 300-mile run. And in both tests, the camels died.
What's a tubular buckboard?
2-mule.
Oh, God. Okay, sorry.
Not tubule.
Right? I was like picturing tubes and they're running through them. And I'm almost at 2 beers.
2-mule buckboard.
There we go. Okay, I got
Okay,
you
did
now.
you miss in both tests the camels died?
Yeah, I did. I'm stuck on tubes. Thank you.
They were built for endurance, not speed.
Oh.
Fail.
Yeah.
This was the Pinterest fail.
Well, they weren't using the one-hump camel. He was agile
Right.
and speedy.
The Civil War finally officially ended the camel corpse or camel corps.
And then it became a corpse.
Right. It was a camel corpse now. In February 1861, rebel troops captured Camp Verde and took many of the remaining camels to use for freight and mail service, but they were treated terribly. They were abused and some of them were deliberately killed.
Why?
Because people are terrible.
Most
In June,
dangerous animals.
Yep, it's us. In June 1861, the herd at Fort Tejon, 31 camels now, were transferred to the Los Angeles Quartermaster Depot. They were kept there for 3 years, continuing to breed, but no one knew what to do with them. So finally, it was ordered that they should be sold off at public auction. On February 28th, 1864, 37 camels in California were sold for $1,945 or $52.56 per camel.
I would have bought them
Sure.
and brought them to your house.
The surviving 48 camels from Camp Verde were recovered at the end of the war, and they were sold at auction in 1866 for $31 per camel. They ended up in circuses, living on private ranches, or working as pack animals for miners and prospectors. But eventually, because people didn't know what to do with camels, because it's not a horse or a mule, many of the camels were set loose into the wild to fend for themselves. They were spotted for decades wandering the deserts of the Southwest.
So do they live a long time or were they meeting up and breeding and continuing to keep their existence alive?
Keep listening.
Okay.
And those feral camels, they thrived. So if you were wandering the desert in the 1880s and spotted a hairy red beast with a corpse on his back,
That'd be so funny.
you weren't seeing a ghost. You were witnessing the lingering, stomping legacy of one of the strangest military experiments in American history. The last of the original military camels died at Griffith Park in Los Angeles in 1934 at the age of 80.
Wow.
But because of all the camels that had been born after, camels continued to be spotted in the desert even after that. But yeah, she was 80.
Wow. So they do live a long time. And
her name was
also,
Topsy.
Topsy Turvy. So they live a long time, but also they must have been breeding out there.
Yeah, they were breeding out there. So the mystery of the red ghost of Arizona is solved. This is why a ghost story that's true.
And you're a believer now.
I'm a believer in this one.
Because it's not actually a ghost.
Because it's not actually a ghost. But one mystery does remain. Who was the man strapped to its back?
Yeah.
The rawhide straps that held him in place were so tight that large lumpy keloids had grown up around them. Why was this man lashed to a wild camel?
Yeah, so that tells me that he was alive and strapped to it for a very long time.
There's so many theories.
You don't get a keloid if you're dead.
No, the keloids were on the camel.
Oh, gosh. Sorry. Got it.
Yeah.
Poor guy.
I know. That's why he was so lumpy and extra weird looking.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, the mystery of the man on his back is one mystery that will remain unsolved.
So that tells me that camels don't get down and roll around.
Maybe.
I feel like he would have been rolled on and ditched.
Yeah, who knows? Maybe they can't roll onto their backs because they have a hump.
Yeah, and also like
Yeah,
all of it's so weird.
It's very weird.
How this guy gets strapped there. Like, did he buy one of these camels and this was his
So
pet?
here's some of the theories. Okay, so some of the theories is that he was a prospector or a miner that was dying of thirst and strapped himself to the camel, hoping that the camel would take him to water because they had a reputation for leading you to water. Okay, so that's one. The other one is that it was somebody who had done something bad. So as a punishment,
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
somebody strapped into a camel's back, whether he was alive or dead when they strapped into it.
I mean, he was secured there to the point of mummification and dust.
Yeah.
Like, he was secured really well.
Yeah,
It
how
feels
do you
like
do
somebody
that to
did
yourself?
that.
Like,
Yeah.
I feel like somebody had to do that to him. Yeah. But like, how did they get this camel? It's so weird.
They bought it for $30.
That's true. That was a lot of money back then. That was 1864.
Yeah, so it was a rich guy that didn't like somebody.
So Jody,
Mm-hmm.
Hyjali, let's not forget about Hyjali,
Hajali.
became an American citizen in 1880, went back to his birth name, married a woman from Tucson, had 2 children, and continued to work for the Army with their pack mules. He's buried in Quartzsite, Arizona. His grave is marked by a stone pyramid topped with a metal camel.
Oh, wow.
And you can visit it today.
Oh, well, we go to our festival, our Goatman Festival.
Well, this is in between California and Arizona, so I doubt they're in the same location.
Right,
sure.
but that's close. That's a couple hours.
Yeah, everything in Arizona is
Yes.
close because it's a very small state. No, it's just everything in Arizona is far away.
No, I drove there from California to there in a day.
It's like 6
It's
hours.
fine.
Everything's
It's
6
fine.
hours away.
Right, but it's only 6 hours.
Only. Not when you're doing peyote at a festival.
So when you're going from monument to monument, 6 hours is not bad. When you're going from the grocery store over to the hardware store, that is a long time. You lived there. I've only visited. I don't think 6 hours is that long.
6 hours is long. When it's 117 degrees outside, 6 hours is
AC.
long. Until your car breaks down.
Okay, well,
My car broke down in the desert
Okay,
in between
here's the
California
thing.
and Arizona, girl.
here's the thing. I am going down on Friday to drive a car back.
I hope it doesn't break down.
It's got lots of things that need to be fixed on it.
Great. Is it
Right. I told
Keith's
Keith,
truck?
I have a credit card. I will catch a flight at some point.
not if you're in the middle of the desert?
I will figure it
Okay,
out.
so here's what happened to me. So when I turned 18, I was like, I gotta get the
I'm a
hell.
AAA this.
I gotta get the hell out of Enumclaw.
Enumclaw.
So I had a cousin who lived in. Well, I still have the cousin, but at the time he lived in Laguna Beach, California, which is a beautiful place in California.
very.
And his house was this cute little bungalow, historic bungalow, 3 blocks from the beach. And he had this daughter who was this adorable little daughter that I loved. And he's like, hey, would you like to come and be Macha's nanny? And me being 18, I asked no questions. I said yes. And so when I turned 18, I loaded up the car with my brother and my meager belongings into my 1984 Mercury Cougar.
I had one of those.
Did
oh
you?
my gosh.
Mine was white with burgundy interior.
I bought it as a family car, Shay.
Did you? It was an 84.
Oh, wait, it was, I don't, might have been 88.
We also called it the
80.
Pimp
No,
Mobile.
it had to be that old. I was, yeah. Mm-hmm. It
And
could be.
We drove down to California. Well, actually, we drove to Arizona because my grandmother lived in southern Arizona. So we drove all the way to my grandma's house in southern Arizona, which is where I picked up Macha, and then I had to drive her back to California. But sometime in between, I was in the desert by myself in this car.
But
and
not with Macha.
Not with Macha, but we would drive at night because it was so hot.
Yeah.
And my meager air conditioning in my 1984 Mercury Cougar could not handle it being 117 degrees out.
Mm-hmm.
So I stopped to get gas, and then it was a beautiful night, and I just wanted to look at the stars. So I pulled off the road a little bit beyond the gas station and laid on my hood and looked at the stars, and then went back to get in my car and realized that I had locked my keys inside the car.
God.
So I had to walk back to the gas station, find somebody with a coat hanger to break into my own goddamn car in the middle of the desert, in the middle of the night.
Oh, Shay.
Yeah.
No wonder you panicked when we broke down in Oregon.
Well, the other time I broke down in Arizona was I had this truck that was a 1990s
You're giving me horror stories.
Dodge Ram. And I stopped in, I can't remember the name of the town off the top of my head, but it's the one that the state prison is in.
Yeah.
And I stopped there for gas, and my car would not start. My truck would not start because it had a ancient alarm system that decided to fail right then, and so it wouldn't start.
We've had one of these before.
So that was the other time. Like, I'm just sitting there in the desert.
It disables your entire
vehicle. I'm
vehicle.
completely disabled, and it took forever. Like, I had to replace all the batteries and like everything until it would start again. So I'm just not a fan of driving in Arizona.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to this.
Good
in about
luck.
4 days.
Anyway, all right. Well, that's it.
I'll update you all in the next episode.
Is Jody still alive?
Did
The
she
mystery
make it back?
Did she die
run
in the desert?
into a camel with a rider on the
The
back?
red ghost,
The red ghost? Or did I run into Goat Man? Or Mogion?
Mogion. The Mogion.
We don't know.
The hairy enigma.
Or did I get home safe? We'll see.
We'll see.
Married to the Mogion.
To
so.
be right, and his hairy rim. To be continued. I don't know if his rim is hairy, but I'm assuming, given the amount of hair on the rest of his body.
I really looked at the rim in the daylight. I don't know. I can't tell you either.
You guys have been married for 800 years.
I know,
You have to have looked at his rim at some point.
Probably.
He has to have been like, "Hey, honey, what is this? This thing?
Yeah,
Does this look normal?"
I'm sure he's not shy about that stuff. I'm sure I checked out a hemorrhoid or something.
Exactly. It's always also sprung upon
Here's
you.
the thing. We've been married 35 years. I'm a nurse. I'm like, yeah, it's tough. Like, I don't.
I mean,
It's not stuck in my memory like it should be.
It's not going to be too long before I spring a hemorrhoid on you.
Yeah. Bend over. I will take a look.
Jody, what's going on with this thing on my butt?
You can either bend over or lay on your back and put your legs up over your head, and we'll take a peek.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we're going to turn this microphones off, and here we go. No, good. Nothing happening down there right now. Thank you very much. Woo! Okay, anyway, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to our patrons. You know who you are. Our recent patrons, like Laura.
Your butt buddy?
My butt buddy. You're going to have to listen
That's
to
a
Jody's
different
episode
episode.
to listen to why Laura's my butt buddy. Hey, Laura, butt buddy.
And Caden.
Love ya.
Caden, where'd you come from? We
And
gotta
Caden,
know.
don't know where you came from, but it happened on our Oregon weekend. So did we meet you in Oregon? So please reach out at Shea.
We gotta know where you came from.
SHEA, at rainydayrabbitholes.com. You can find everything you need at rainydayrabbitholes.com. Please leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Yelp, on TripAdvisor. I don't know. Wherever you're supposed to leave those.
Yelp
things.
us.
Yelp us, yeah. And if you are interested in supporting us, and literally the support just goes to pay our monthly bills. It's not like we're making money off of this,
It's
but
the funnest hobby I've ever had.
it's a hobby, and we do pay for things like websites and cards and stickers. And if you become a patron, you get stickers. So we did that for you. And if you become a patron at higher levels, you actually get merch. So if... Oh, nice job. My cat just spilt my beer all over me. So we're going to end it here. Thank you so much. We love you, and...
See you down the rabbit hole. Oh, hi, sweetie.
Oh, rough. You love
she
Andy.
loves you. Oh,
No.
no, we're not making out.
Yes, you should make out with my
no
dog.
Frenchies. I've already tasted your tongue once today. Against my will.
I'm telling Keith.
Consent. You need consent.
I try to talk to him about consent.
He's here. Yep. Look at that. He just unconsented you.
Well, I feel like maybe I've given him explicit consent.
Yes.
By
that's
being
the
his
problem.
mommy. My microphone is drooping like a flaccid penis.
It needs Viagra. It keeps just going soft.
It does.
Needs a boost.